The views expressed in this blog are hosted on my own website, are strictly personal, and do not reflect the views of any organization.
Hello and welcome to Straight Bat, my weekly video blog where, as the title suggests, I comment with a straight bat. Now, long before Gautam Adani, there was Dhirubhai Ambani. The Reliance Industries founder was targeted for building his business empire courtesy his alleged proximity to the Congress governments of the 1980s. Leading this anti-Reliance charge at the time was former Prime Minister VP Singh, who didn't hide his disdain for big business. In 1990, in the midst of this high-stakes Singh versus Ambani battle, South Mumbai Congress MP Murli Deora organized a private dinner of solidarity for Dhirubhai with a few journalists and Mumbai's movers and shakers. I don't know what my party will say, but I will stand by my friend Dhirubhai through good times and bad, he told this elite gathering. Deora and Ambani had worked together in the yarn trading business together when they started off their careers, and their friendship was built around a long-standing mutual trust. The suit and trouser-clad Deora was an exception in pre-liberalization India, a politician who had few compunctions in openly embracing the corporate world. This was a socialistic India, the Indira Gandhi era India, where politicians almost felt duty-bound to keep business persons at arm's length. Even those who knew Dhirubhai well would rarely acknowledge the relationship in public. It was almost as if being seen in the company of business barons was a political negative, even if behind closed doors, the political class remained dependent on corporate funding, especially at election time. In this era of astonishingly high income tax rates and a humongous black money parallel economy, wealth creators were seen as thieves and parasites who had to be publicly shunned even though they had to be privately engaged. Contrast the cloak and dagger equations of socialist India with the manner in which most state and central governments have wooed India Inc. in the last decade. In particular, rarely does a month go by without a glitzy investor summit being organized by one state government or the other in some part of the country, where thousands of crores worth of MOUs are signed. It is almost as if the chief ministers are engaged in a frenetic competition with each other to showcase their state as business friendly. Even the freezing temperatures of Davos have not deterred India's political leaders from making an aggressive pitch to the global business community. It would be easy to attribute this change solely to the opening up of the Indian economy in 1991, an undoubtedly landmark moment that appeared to open up closed minds too. Certainly the notion that the moneyed class was evil was challenged by the rise of an aspirational consumerist middle class, which slowly but surely shed their inhibitions about mammon and money. But there is another less widely recognized reason for the growing politician-business leader tango. In the post-1991 era, the development model embraced by most states revolves around building physical infrastructure, which governments hope will eventually kickstart a virtual cycle of investment, growth, and jobs. Most cash-strapped states are struggling to raise capital to invest in long gestation projects like roads, ports, renewable energy, power, airports. A notoriously inefficient public sector has often failed to meet targets or compete with private companies. The Made in India brand pitch needs its Desi Rockefellers, risk-taking entrepreneurs with proven execution skills willing to bet big on the India story. Enter the likes of Gautam Adani, who started his business dealings as a commodity trader in the original license permit Raj in the 1980s, but quickly made the transition to large asset building by furiously expanding into the infrastructure sector. Adani was fortunate to be at the right place at the right time, to the extent that he comes from a state like Gujarat, which is professedly Gandhian in theory, but deeply materialistic in practice. Gujarat's business is a mantra that has shaped the state's ethos, creating a large entrepreneurial class that celebrates wealth creation without any moral ambivalence. Unsurprisingly, even before Narendra Modi's meteoric rise in Gujarat and on India's political map, Adani was already getting opportunities to scale up his business ambitions. It was the then Congress Chief Minister Chimanbhai Patel in 1993 who first allotted wasteland in Mundra to Adani that he would eventually develop into the group's flagship port project. The Modi years in Gujarat, though, led to the patronage of big business being taken to another level. Part of this is explained by the trajectory of Mr. Modi's own leadership. In 2002's Gujarat violence saw Mr. Modi being projected as a Hindu Hriday Samrat, by the mid-2000s, Mr. Modi recognized that he needed to reposition himself as a CEO of Gujarat, a Vikas Purush who was driving the state's engine forward. While the first vibrant Gujarat summit was organized in 2003, it was around 2005 that the summit really became a marquee event attracting global and domestic investors. This is where Mr. Adani, who was already spearheading a resurgent Gujarat business forum almost as a parallel entity to the Delhi-based Confederation of Indian Industry, became a mascot for the much-hyped Gujarat model, a loyal and ambitious business chieftain whose interests were firmly aligned to the political leadership. Significantly, at no stage have Mr. Modi or Mr. Adani tried to conceal their special relationship. During the 2014 election campaign, Mr. Modi, remember, used the Adani private plane throughout, and even after winning the elections, landed in Delhi in the same aircraft, waving to the crowd with the Adani logo glistening in the backdrop, almost a testimony to their concurrent rise to power. In a sense, and this is the key, a muscular nationalist leader like Mr. Modi needs an Adani-like figure as much as the latter needs him. If you didn't have an Adani, you might almost have to invent him. Why? Well, because for Mr. Modi, the spectacular growth of a homespun industrialist allows him to wave the flag of an Atmanirbhar Bharat or self-reliant India with familiar gusto. For Adani, the assured support of the country's supreme leader means that he could take the risks that other less influential corporate leaders might have avoided. The result has inevitably led to charges of cronyism, favoritism, and monopolistic practices. But those charges could be waved off before the larger objective of nation building through creating world-class infrastructure. But now, in a way, the chickens have come to roost, because the allegations of stock manipulation, dubious shell company transactions involving family members, opaque corporate governance, irregular accounting, using or misusing the agencies to get contracts, threaten this well-cultivated image of a corruption-free new India. Which is why Mr. Modi may need to decide soon between standing by his all-weather friend or gradually distancing himself from the snowballing controversy where the optics clearly don't work in the Prime Minister's favor this time. Years ago, Murli Deora stood by Dhirubhai in his hour of need. Interestingly, it was, as I said, VP Singh who had targeted Dhirubhai. Now it is Rahul Gandhi, whose father was in a war with VP Singh, who's targeting Narendra Modi and indeed Gautam Adani. Look at how the wheel has turned. The question is, can a seemingly invincible Prime Minister who hopes to have a third term, a hat-trick in 2024, take any risk ahead of a big election year? Guilt by association, the optics of that is something the Modi government will have to now manage. As a postscript, while the Congress leadership in Delhi has been posing three questions every day on the Adani affair, It is very interesting that the Congress chief ministers, be it a Bhupesh Baghel or an Ashok Gehlot, or indeed many regional satraps, seem far less enthusiastic on taking up the Adani affair. Could one of the reasons be what I told you last week? That the Adani Group's geographical spread of projects today cuts across 22 states across party lines. Think about it. That was the straight bat. Do of course subscribe to my YouTube channel for many more such videos. For now, stay well, stay safe. Jai Hind. Namaskar.